Mr. Starbird.
Mr. Mayor, I'm more than willing to defer to council members, but I can't help but ask your indulgence to make some comments. And I recognize here that I run the risk of going against the adage of never picking a fight with somebody who buys their ink by the barrel. In this case, probably by the tanker load. And I think that my 40 years in local government, city manager of 3 different cities, all in Los Angeles County, will reflect a record of having tremendous respect for the role of the media. Completely agree with Mr. Zavos about their importance in a free society. But I also have come to believe that with that responsibility comes an equal responsibility of reporting factual, balanced news. We've heard here this evening from Margaret Hammond that she learned, or she said we learned, why affordable housing has become so costly. The implication being because of political contributions and influence driving up the cost of housing. In my conversations with the local press as well as the LA Times, and extensive conversations, frankly, I pointed out what I view as the reason for the increase in affordable housing costs, which you will find as a topic among the major housing agencies in the state of California. I've personally been part of a task force meeting with the staff of the state tax allocation committee to talk about their policies and its impact on the cost of affordable housing in California. Policies like the tiebreaker round require a much greater allocation of local resources in order to qualify for 9% tax credits. And when I made that comment to the LA Times, and I realized it wasn't getting in the press, and I inquired as to why, I was told because the editors were not going to allow the LA Times to cover any of the TCAC issue. It was too complicated and would take up too much space. So we didn't actually learn why affordable housing is increasing in cost in Southern California. I was asked then, why would council members have an interest in approving an ADI project if not for campaign contributions? And I said, well, let me give you a very good one. If you're familiar with Glendale, you know that whenever 3 or more people gather, we talk about 2 things, either traffic or affordable housing. I said, if you know our population, you know we have a lot of people who need, clamor for, come to council meetings and ask for council's assistance in providing affordable housing. We have a list of people waiting for Section 8 housing that is over 6,000 people long, and those people will likely never get their needs met here in Glendale. And I said, as a result, you have a city council that has, in the time that we have worked with ADI, we have worked with Tom Safran and Associates, Habitat for Humanity, United Cerebral Palsy, Salvation Army, Heritage Housing, Southern California Presbyterian Homes, and others to meet our obligation and meet the needs for providing affordable housing to the best of our ability in Glendale. And I pointed out that ADI has been one of the most successful firms in the state of California at receiving 9% tax credits, which is the blood of affordable housing development in California. You aren't able to fund it if you can't get 9% tax credits from the state. And they have been the most successful firm at receiving 9% tax credit approval for the past decade in California. That's why they've been able to build $650 million of affordable housing in California. In that time, ADI has produced more family affordable housing units in Glendale than all of the other affordable housing developers we have worked with combined. And they've done it in about an 8-year time frame. So I said, if you want to see the council members' motivation for actually putting a lot of pressure on staff to produce affordable housing, that is the incentive. It's not campaign contributions. Did that get in the press? No, I'm afraid that it didn't. We have heard about shoddy construction time and time again. When we learned here in Glendale from the receiver that there was some sense on his part that the housing built by ADI was unsafe, and he didn't point out in Glendale or Anaheim or LA or Fresno, he said unsafe, I immediately dispatched Stuart Tom and his staff to go re-inspect all of those units. And they came back with a report that there is no unsafe housing. And in fact, in a subsequent meeting with one of the firms who provides the financing for these projects, they too had toured the projects in Glendale, and they said they were some of the best that they have seen, of the ones that they have toured. In fact, they were very pleased with the construction that had gone on here. Now, that was done before the LA Times article broke, and that comment has been made time and time again to the LA Times and the News-Press. But what do we hear? We still hear shoddy construction, implication being, as Margaret points out, somebody here in Glendale wasn't doing their job. Now, I can't speak to the other 50-plus projects across the state of California that ADI has constructed. I don't know what those are. I know 35 of them are in the city of Los Angeles. Only 4 of them are here in Glendale. And we do manage our projects well, and we know they've been safely constructed. They're not shoddy. On the matter of thanking the media for bringing this matter to their attention, in other words, breaking the news on ADI, before the LA Times, the News-Press, ever began to investigate the matter of ADI, Scott Howard and I sent letters to every one of the investigatory agencies at the federal and state level asking them to please commence investigations into the matter of ADI and offering the City of Glendale's complete support in any way possible in those investigations.
I didn't read that. Was that in the?
No, that also was not on the LA Times report. I personally met with the local reporter because I have always had a policy of complete openness with the press, my availability and my staff's availability to the press. And we, frankly, told them of what we had learned about the unfolding issue with ADI.
Does that mean you get a Pulitzer Prize if it's...
No, I don't get a Pulitzer Prize. Lastly, I want to say that one of my fears is that this debate will drive out the ability for us to look at this and to learn from this experience. As was pointed out by one of the speakers, the City of Glendale is among some very capable agencies, all of whom have worked with ADI, all of whom have very capable staff and consultants. If anybody in this city or on this City Council had any idea that the kind of alleged fraud that was committed by ADI was going on, nobody would have allowed that to happen. And frankly, I can't believe that my counterparts in cities like Anaheim and the city of LA would have sat still with that either. You can only prevent so much. I think we have opportunities to take steps here to put into place procedures that will hopefully prevent the next ADI from happening, but not if the divisiveness and the level of rhetoric that's going on here continues to persist, because that's not going to allow us to move forward in a productive and positive fashion to establish procedures to ensure that the ADIs cannot happen again in Glendale. With that, Mr. Howard continues to tell me I have taken way too much time, and I apologize and thank you for your indulgence.
You don't need to apologize.